All right, let's welcome into Straight Fire a guest we have pretty much every year, opening week since the podcast started. David Baker, the legend who just dominates all the Vegas contests, Survivor, Pick'em, pools. I mean, he is just living the dream. How are you, man?
I'm great, man. Excited. It's been a long off season, so now finally we can, we're finishing up all the fantasy drafts and ready just to dive into gambling and nonstop contests and gambling and all the fun stuff, all the stuff we live for as huge football fans.
So I'll start here. How was your summer on the gambling front? Did you do any Olympic stuff, or are you just like kind of the guy who waits for the NFL to pop?
I pretty much am two-trick pony, football and poker. So
Okay.
during the summer, I play all the World Series events and had a few deep runs there. Nothing nothing major. Didn't win a bracelet like did last year, but yeah, it was still good and just ready for football. Do a little golf, do a little golf betting, and I play a lot of golf. So um, off seasons for that. But as far as betting, I'm not too deep in the basketball, baseball streets or Olympics or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah, it's pretty clear NFL rules, and it's the toughest market to crack. So let's start here. First of all, macro, big picture stuff. Well, I don't think I've talked to you since the Kirk Cousins signing. What did you think of that? The Falcons landing Cousins. Do you think that's like a big deal? I mean, I don't know if you're bullish on the Falcons this year or not.
I don't know. I think it's neutral. I think Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback, so I'm not going to dismiss that. I think he's definitely can get teams over the top and get them in contention. And as we've seen, just give yourselves a ticket to the dance at this point.
Yeah.
It's we're not in an era of NFL where any one team is dominating. I mean, I know it looks like the Chiefs are dominating, but they're not dominating in the same way that like the Patriots dominated or the Cowboys dominated back in the 90s. They're kind of they're just they're giving themselves a ticket to the dance as well. I mean, that's kind of what the Chiefs do. And then, they hope that they're able to outmanage, outwit, outsmart, the survivor type mentality to a championship. I don't think they're out there just beating the doors off a team. So
Hmm.
also the NFC is kind of level. I mean, there are teams that we like a little more than other teams, but generally the NFC is kind of winnable. I mean, we've had a different team in the Super Bowl, a lot of the years, a lot of different
Yeah.
participants in the championship game. So I think it's good from that standpoint. I really do think that they kind of blundered this Penix thing.
Yeah.
Um, if you're going to put all that money into Cousins and build the team that's going to contend this year, I mean, not using a top 10 pick on a weapon, um, I think was not really the way I would have gone about it. But hey, that's why they get paid the big bucks to
Yeah.
GM for the long haul and not 1 year.
I mean, they kind of had Roma Dunze. I don't think would have taken another tight end because they already have Pitts. But anyways, let's move on. Let's get to week one. So first of all, for the contest, let's quickly just do Survivor first. Obviously, you're in the Survivor contest. Anybody who doesn't know how the Survivor rules, I'm sorry, we're not breaking them down for you here. But it feels like there's really only two plays in Survivor this week for week one. Bengals, who are huge favorites against the Patriots, but we don't know about the status of Jamar Chase. The game is in Cincy. And then the other one to me, and I like this game, I bet it earlier, was Seattle at home against Bo Nix in Denver. But I don't know that you're going to use Seattle again. So maybe you take a flyer on them and use the other one on Cincinnati if you're in multiple leagues. How do you handicap Survivor week one?
Well, I mean, Survivor Week One's the most discussed Survivor Week of the year, obviously, and this year is very different. Um, I have another team that I like in this spot, but let's break down what you talked about. First off, the Bengals. The Bengals are the clear best chance to win a football game. So it's just you have to really decide, do I think that it's worth trying to leverage a lot of the contest picking this game? First of all, there's probably going to be 35 to 42% of the entries on whatever survivor you pick is going to be on the Bengals.
Yeah.
So instantly you just go on to a path that's similar to them. Since a reason to play them is, hey, let's just advance. Nobody's winning week one. we'll have plenty of chances to diversify down
Yeah.
the line. That's the plus on Cincinnati. The negative is they're one of the best teams in the NFL, and there are multiple spots to use them throughout the
Hmm.
year. So that's kind of a reason not to use them, I think. I mean, if you're trying
Interesting.
to win a pool, like in Circa, for instance, you've got to pick 20 winners. Um, I could really see saving Cincinnati for the future. Now let's talk
Interesting.
about your second option, Seattle. I like Seattle. I like Seattle this week. There's only one other clear shot where I think you can use them, which is week 5, where they play the Giants.
Where's that game?
It's in Seattle.
Mm.
So that's their only game where you could use them. There are other options that week. Here's the negative on Seattle, for me personally. One, if you're in the Survivor contest, you have to pick a Christmas game and a Thanksgiving game. They're one of 6 teams that play on Christmas.
Oh.
So I personally am a big fan of leaving myself options for Christmas because you just never know what happens. Now you just look at the Christmas slate. It's Kansas City at home versus Pittsburgh. That's the chalk. But what happens if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt? What happens if they have a season from hell? Like, I want to
Mm.
give myself another option. The other 2 games are Baltimore versus Houston. I can't see a
No.
scenario where I'm going to feel comfortable with either one of those 2 teams. And the third one is Seattle plays Chicago. Now, right now, I'm thinking I would never want to play Seattle in that spot, but the NFL is a long, grueling season,
Mm.
and Christmas is at the end of the season. I like to give myself outs. What if Caleb's bad? What if Caleb gets hurt? What if they're at a season where they just revolt against Eberflus and the team quits? We just don't know what's going to
Yeah,
happen,
that's
so I
fair.
want to give myself outs.
Can I
That
guess
be,
your? Well, hold on. Let me guess your other pick.
yep, yep.
Is
Go
it
ahead.
Buffalo?
No, my the pick that I like, and it's gross, and you have to hold your nose, but I like the Saints, and only
Wow.
because I do not think the Saints are very good, and they play the Carolina Panthers at home. So when are you going to have a better spot to use the New Orleans
Fair.
Saints than at home against one of the bottom 5 teams in the NFL? It's stinky, and can I see Carolina win this game? Yes, but if you're playing
Money's
survive,
coming in on Carolina too. Not a
if you,
ton, but the line's gone down.
to me, it all really comes down to, are you in Survivor to try to win it? Are you in Survivor to try to have a sweat for longer in the season? If you just want to advance and give yourself a sweat and be able to talk about it for 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks, Cincinnati's the play. It's not even a question. Um, if you want to get a little bit off the path and you'll say, I'll worry about Christmas when it comes, Seattle's a perfectly great option.
Mm.
I love Bo Nix and the Broncos. They're my sleeper team to outperform expectations this year.
Wow.
But this is not really a great spot for his opening game.
Yeah.
If you want to try to win and look at the most future value that you're going to be or the least amount of future value you're going to be giving up, to me, it's the New Orleans Saints. I'm very
Yeah.
down on the Saints this year. I do not think they're going to be good. So if I can get them out of the way and hopefully I cover, I win as a 60% favorite, then now I've just
Yeah.
eliminated a bad team from my list, and I can move on from there.
I can ride with that. All right, let's get to week 1 again. Now we're both doing the Circa contest. The lines come out Wednesday night. We're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, so there could be a little bit of movement. Obviously, the Trent Williams signing by the Niners bumped that up a half a point or a point, depending on where you're shopping. But David, we talked about this last year. This whole 2.5, 3, 3.5, right? Those
Yep.
obviously 3 the most key number in the NFL. I'm seeing Detroit 3.5, Tampa 3, Cleveland 2.5, Chargers 3, Falcons 3.5, Bears down to 3.5. Oh, that's interesting. Dolphins 3.5. So everything's clustered around 3. Do, are you automatically ruling some of those games out, or are you using that hook as a big tell as to which side you think is the side?
Well, I mean, the hook is definitely where Circa lays the number really does vary how popular a game's going to be. I mean, like right now, you've got Cleveland with juice laying to the 2.5. If they lay this game at 3, there's Dallas is going to be one of the most popular plays on the board. If
Mm-hmm.
they lay it at 2.5, Cleveland's probably going to be pretty popular. So um, you can use the lines for a little leverage as far as that goes. But the NFL right now, I mean, if you just look at the lines right now and has much problem as we had discussing Survivor, um, you kind of just shows that we are in an era of parity. So yeah, you're going to have to pick some threes and 3.5s. I don't use any general rule for staying away from those. I consider everything, honestly. There are some people who never take big spreads. I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah, I know.
I'm definitely fine laying the number.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm not going to shy away from. I'm not
How's
going to
this?
shy away from
Yeah,
close numbers.
I like that attitude. Big number. We talked Bengals earlier. I'm gonna just go ahead and wait on the whole Jamar Chase stuff. I'll just say a couple that have jumped out at me. I did bet Washington 3.5 against Tampa. I'm seeing it at 3 now. And again, depending on where you look,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a competitive game. I think it's probably a high scoring game with two poor secondaries. But rookie quarterback on the road first start. I know I've been preaching all summer. New owner, new GM, new offensive coordinator, new head coach, new quarterback. Like there's so much newness. I don't. It's tough. I don't love the Commanders this season like other people, but I do think in this spot they're going to show up like Baker Mayfield and what's his face, Todd Bowles laying points. No thanks. So I'm looking strongly at Washington in the contest.
Yeah, my guess is that I will probably have no play on this one. If I do, I can't really get behind it. I do think that the Commanders' offense is going to be retooled and better. I just the one thing that Tampa does have is they're very cohesive. I mean, the quarterback, the coach, the two main receivers. I mean, they've been there. They're at home. This is a whole new system for Washington. I mean, we
Yeah.
don't even know who the number 2 and 3 receivers are for Washington. Do I think Terry
De'Ami
McLaurin?
Brown. Come on, De'Ami Brown.
Yeah.
You didn't
Is
get him
it
in a
is it
fantasy?
Diami? Is it Noah? Is it Diami? Is it Noah? Is it Luke McCaffrey? I mean, we don't necessarily know. I do think Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels are going to have big years. They're two guys that I really do like in fantasy a lot, but I'm not sure that going on the road week 1 against a team that's established is really my favorite spot.
Okay.
I'm very big on continuity this year. The two teams that I really do like the most this year are the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions. Two teams that have stable coaches, stable offensive coordinators, stable receiving cores, stable quarterbacks, just a lot of things that they can get out of the gate well. I think you're just guessing, honestly, when you're playing the Commanders week 1. You just
Yeah.
don't know. And I'm just really not into guessing at this point in the season. I'd rather just kind of get a little time to get my bearings.
Let's go to what I think is an interesting game. Vikings at Giants, another road team. The Vikings now favored. I think they started out as a dog this summer. They're now favored by a little bit. So 1.5 at the Giants. Giants have a good defensive front, but they don't have anything else. They really only have Malik Neighbors on offense. Listen, I don't think this team's very good. I am a believer in Kevin O'Connell. Vikings, does that appeal to you at all? Justin Jefferson against like a bottom 5 secondary.
I'm very much a believer in O'Connell and Sam Darnold and this team. I really wanted to take them as my surprise team of the year and have them over the number and all that. Their schedule is absolutely brutal,
It's
but
tough.
I do think that they're going to make some noise. Um, yeah, the only thing that scares me is just the Darnold back in his ghost
Mm.
seeing stadium. But yeah, I think this is time for Darnold. I think we wrote this kid off. He was in a horrible situation and he was young. He's still young, and he finally has like an offensive coach that I think can get a lot out of him. And I love his weapons. I mean, I think JJ is the best receiver in football, and Jordan Addison's a great compliment. They have a two-headed running machine in the back with Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. Um, Obviously, I'd really like Hawk to be there, but I think the Vikings have a lot. I'm not really sure on the Giants. I don't know if they're going to be really bad or just bad. Um, I know you're a Giants fan. You're a Giants
I'm a
guy, right?
Jets guy,
Oh,
so I
you're a
can't
Jets guy.
stand the. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's right. You're the Jets guy. I did remember that. I can't believe I just said that. That's very insulting. I feel very
It's
bad that
fine.
I just said that. That's an old man. That's an old man mistake right there.
It's fine. Don't worry about
Uh,
it,
yeah, that Jim Jones, no good. I do think that Malik Neighbors, he might be generational though. So,
man. Ooh.
yeah, I would lead Vikings. I mean, I don't love it. There's still a lot of mystery on these two teams, but I would lean Vikings as well.
All right, so basically that's two games I just floated. You didn't love either one. All right, I'll
No,
let you. Dealer's choice, since you're the big guy on campus. Let's give me your favorite game that jumped out at you. Maybe things have changed, and I'll even let you put in Ravens Chiefs if you feel so desired.
well, I'll say it. Two games that I'm looking at right now that I feel decent about. The first one favorite, one dog. The favorite is the Atlanta Falcons.
Hmm.
Very I'm we haven't seen Cousins, so this is a little mystery, but I think the Steelers are really pathetic. They're definitely one of the teams that I would love fading this year.
Oh yeah.
I just do not see how this team has any chance to move the football as until possibly Fields gets in there and just can create something with his feet. Um, as we've talked about in years past, I mean, I'm anti Russell Wilson. Um, and if you listen to anything that I ever put out, you'll know that Russell Wilson's not my guy. So, yeah, I like the Falcons at home. I like them. And I like the Raiders. Raiders +3 versus the Chargers.
Whoa, I
I,
did not see that coming.
I, you know, I really like Herbert, but I think this is going to take some time to adjust to the system. I think Harbaugh is going to build a winner there over the long haul. I don't quite see it
Hmm.
this year. I think this is going to be a low scoring, grinded out football game. Um, Antonio Pierce, I think he's going to bring this team a championship? No, but I think that he can make them competitive and
Hmm.
fierce. And I just don't see a lot of points. So I'm getting 3 points. I think I'm going to have the home field advantage, honestly. I can't imagine that there would be more Charger fans than Raider fans there.
That's an interesting one. You're probably right. I just wonder if like the Harbaugh move will rejuvenate whatever fan base the Chargers have, and maybe there's a little more. It's more closer to 50-50 than say 60-40 or 65-35.
I do think that the Charger fan base will be renewed, and I think that it might show in some games, but the Raiders are
Yeah,
LA. I
they
mean,
are.
the Raiders are, I mean, there's no fan base. I mean, I know Oakland does, but I mean, the Raiders, the LA fan base is Raiders too. So
Let me ask on
I do
that
like
front.
them there.
So Raiders faced Chargers last year. That was the game where the Chargers basically quit on Brandon Staley.
Yep, I was
And
there
I
for
think
that
it was
game.
you were there. I think it was like
Yeah,
63-14 or something insane.
yeah,
And
amazing game.
I mean, again, I'm not going to go overboard with the revenge angle, but I do wonder for the guys who are still there. Bosa's still there. Herbert, I don't think he played in that game. That was the backup quarterback,
No, he
Easton
didn't. It was
Stick.
Easton Stick. Yeah,
Right. And surely there are some holdovers who are going to get in the locker room and be like, guys, these guys beat the tar out of us last year, embarrassed us. We need revenge. I just wonder, again, that doesn't play into an X's and O's handicap at all, but a little at all thought for you in the game when it comes to Chargers getting revenge?
if this was last year's team, I could see it. I just don't see a lot of the players that are impact players
Impact
on the
guys
team
still back.
really being. It's like, oh, is Josh Palmer going to be upset? I mean, it's like
No,
it's like what? I
Josh,
mean, it's like who was even there?
Derwin
Um,
James, Bosa. I don't know if Derwin James was hurt. He's always hurt.
yeah,
But also
exactly.
is there a bigger coaching edge in week one than Jim Harbaugh and Antonio Pierce?
Yeah, for sure. I
I
mean,
mean,
probably not. Um, but you're also playing. This is also just kind of. I mean, what are we even getting out of Herbert? I mean, Herbert's been
yeah,
hurt
that scares me.
all preseason too. Um, I don't know. I think if you just put the weapons down on paper, I mean, I know the Chargers have a better quarterback, but I mean, you got Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, uh, Brock Bowers,
Yes.
a running back that, I don't really love Zamir White when it comes to like fantasy and season long and things like that. But week one, I mean, the guy runs super hard and he's part of the team. I mean, this team is the only new piece they really have on offense is Minshew. And, you could argue that that's an upgrade. The Chargers are
Oh, well,
completely
yeah.
new. They're completely new. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not quite buying the Chargers for this year. I do think that they're on the right path to building a team and an organization. So I think they made a great move. But to me, this is kind of a throwaway year. Let's get their finances in order. Let's build up this offensive line, try to protect Herbert, run the football a lot, and maybe get a high draft pick and get one of these elite wide receivers that seem to come
Oof.
out every year.
I'd be shocked. I can't see Harbaugh actually thinking that. He's kind of a crazy person. I usually avoid the divisional matchups in week one, but something jumps out at me that the Texans, who you love, who are loaded, who arguably had the best offseason in the NFL, are only 2.5 at the Colts in week one. That to me is kind of a big tell. That maybe the public side is going to be the Houston Texans, and if anything, the house is going to need the Colts, and maybe that's where you want to be. Would you agree?
I would uh, think that the house is going to want the Colts. I mean, generally, your people are always going to bet on the fun fantasy team offenses, which the Texans are. I think the line's right in line. I mean, you're
Hmm.
basically saying if the Texans are 2.5 at Indy, then that's saying neutral site. It's a 5 point on neutral site. I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
Texans are a Super Bowl team, man. Couple, they're
Yeah, they
like
are.
they got one of the
But
best
the
rosters
Colts
in the
are.
league.
Yeah, The Colts aren't also rans. I mean, I think their totals either it's like 8.5, maybe seven
Is
and a
it
half,
okay?
eight
I
and a half.
thought, yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
There's a lot of buzz about Richardson. I'm not a Richardson believer personally, and I am a huge CJ believer. If you remember, this was the rematch. These two teams played in the final game last year to see who
that's
made the
right.
playoffs, and the Texans beat them at the very end of the game. Was a great football game. The Colts have a great coaching staff. Um, they've got a good running game. Uh, I think the Colts are going to be feisty, but yeah, the Texans are my pick to get to the Super Bowl. So I guess I have to pick them here against a
Yeah.
team I don't really love, right?
Fun nerdy fact. So I remember that was it week 18 game, Colts Texans. And
Yep.
and it was like 4th down and 3, maybe. I don't remember what it was, but it was situationally like the last play of the game, and it was like Cowherd's 60th birthday or whatever. So we're at this bar, he had rented out or whatever, and Chip Kelly's there. And I just was like, let me just go ask you, Chip, what are you dialing up here? And he had like a play idea. I forget what it was. This was in January. And of course, Steichen had a good play dialed up, but it didn't quite work. Do you remember what happened? Was it Minshew's pass was off or something?
I don't quite remember.
It was just one
Honestly,
of those
I'm
moments where
I'm
it was like
I'm
the Colts were
old.
close, and they
Yeah,
should have probably converted and won that game. But you said Richardson. Where are you on Steichen?
I like Steichen a lot. I'm not high on Richardson, but I do like Steichen a lot. I mean, I think you can just kind of see what happened to the Eagles and the Colts last year. I mean, the Colts had Gardner Minshew and JT was out for a lot of the year, and they were in it to the last play to be able to make the playoffs. And Philly just kind of their offense kind of dropped off um, without him. So I mean, I think he was a big part of that, and I have all the respect in the world for Shane Steichen. I just the Colts are going to be exciting. They're going to make some, look at me crazy plays, but I just don't trust Richardson over a 16 game or 17 game sample to be able to
Yeah.
consistently not make mistakes and throw interceptions. So I'm not really high on the Colts winning more football games than they're supposed to, but I do think that they will have some exciting plays. This should be a great game.
Yeah, when you look at week one, sides can be tough, but it seems like a lot of the totals are moving around. And I think I'm guessing that has to do with new offensive coordinators, new systems, new defensive coordinators. For instance, like Jacksonville Dolphins. My biggest bet of the week so far is on the over in that game because I mean, if you look at the secondaries and the Jag secondaries, maybe the worst in the league. And the Dolphins, actually, their defense is not good. And these offenses could be high powered, both have weapons. So do you think there's a bigger edge in totals in week one, or do you not even touch totals?
I'm a lot more focused on contests and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so I don't really. look at the totals that close beforehand. Obviously, when I'm trying to decide on fantasy things, I will, you know, reference totals and kind of trying to find the best game environments. I do think that makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, the one thing that I think is interesting on totals, if you can nail what this kickoff is going to do in the regular
Mm.
season, I think you can have a really big edge. And I don't know whether it's going to favor the over or the under. I don't know if they're going to adjust, um, and over is going to, if they're going to overinflate the over because of the kickoff, or they might just totally ignore it since it didn't seem to be that big a factor in the preseason. But I think it could have a big impact during the season. I think we're going to see more kickoff returns. I think we're going to see, more special teams plays, and so I think field position is going to be better too. So I could lean more towards overs
Yep.
earlier than maybe you would have thought so. But whoever can really decipher that the quickest and get ahead of market is really going to have an edge. I think the kickoff is really going to. I think it's going to take a little while for Vegas. When I say Vegas, I just mean the line makers.
Yeah.
For the line makers to truly adjust to what the kickoff means in the overall scoring.
Any thoughts on Eagles Packers? Eagles are 2.5. The game's in Brazil. I know when everybody goes to London, there's when did the team leave? Will the body clock? But I don't know that that's totally in play in Sao Paulo. I believe I've never been there. But for some reason, I really like the Eagles here, and I don't understand why it's not 3. Maybe it'll get there by kickoff. But any thoughts on that game?
I'm with you on that one. I think the Eagles, for me, it was between the Eagles and the Lions for the NFC, who I really liked.
Yeah.
Um, I know that Jordan Love's getting a lot of love, and the Packers are getting a lot of love. I think they're going to be decent, but I'm not. I don't. I think that the last few weeks were more outlier than what they're going to be traditionally. Um, and I think the Eagles are just, they're juggernaut. They're built everywhere. And I think Kellen Moore coming in is going to help revive that offense. And yeah, I'm with you. I like the Eagles in that one.
All right, we could wrap up with Jets Niners Monday Night Football. This has been all over the place. It was 6.5, went down to 3.5. Now it's, as we record, 49ers by 4.5. Still no word if Trent Williams will play. A veteran, maybe he just wanted to sit out all of preseason. Who knows if he'll be ready to play on Monday Night Football? But I don't know. I kind of like the Jets in this spot getting points. I don't think it's going to be for me in the contest. I can't take the double losses, Dave, where the Jets lose and then I had them in the contest. That's just too painful. But you said Lions and Eagles in the NFC. You didn't mention the Niners. Are you down on them this year?
I mean, I was huge Niners all last year. It just kind of seems like, I don't know. I don't even know if this is fact based or just my own manifestation, but it kind of feels like it just might be one of those years for the Niners. It just doesn't really seem like, I don't know, just one of those feelings I have. I don't know. I get it's hard pressed to keep picking the team to just continually do it year in year out. The Trent Williams holdout, the Brandon Ayuk holdout. Now you got Pearsall getting shot. It's just like Brock Purdy had, you know, the charm season last year. The defense, I don't know. It just feels to me that I think that there could be some regression, and I do think that that division is pretty strong. I mean, I know you like the Seahawks you mentioned.
Yeah.
You've got the Rams are pretty darn good, and I think the Cardinals are going to be a lot better too. So I
Mm,
think the division's tough. Um, I I'm not saying that I'm out on the Niners.
right.
I don't know. I just feel like I don't know how it's going to happen or why or where, but I don't know. I'm just kind of feeling like there might be a little regression somewhere with the Niners. They do have the best roster, so that might just be a little bit of my gut feeling that it's
Hmm.
hard to quantitate. But that's just kind of how I feel. I do kind of lean the Jets there as well. Um, Obviously, tough spot for Aaron Rodgers to come back to after not playing football for a couple of years, but I love the Jets defense, and they've got two of the best weapons in football in Brees and Garrett. So why not a defensive struggle? Keep it close, and I don't know if the Jets will win the game, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if it's a one possession game that comes down to the end. So you can get more than a field goal here. I think it's Jets or nothing for me.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sorry. I thought I heard you say you liked the Arizona Cardinals this year. I could have been hearing wrong. Is that what I heard correctly? Like you like the
I like them to be
Cardinals?
feisty. Yeah, I like them to be
Hmm.
feisty. I mean, this team was feisty last year, and they had a bunch of, you know, nothings out there, and guys who aren't even in the NFL now, and we're just, I remember last year we were like, is Survivor even gonna lose anybody? Because everybody's just gonna bet against the Cardinals
That's
every
right.
week. You
Yeah,
could
yeah,
just,
yeah.
and this year, and they battled, and they had some. I think Gannon's a pretty good coach. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's grown up. I think this time off, the injury, the criticism, I really feel like Kyler's ready to take that step forward. Uh, I had Marvin Harrison, great addition. I like the auxiliary pieces, and Wilson Dortch, and I love Trey McBride. The defense is tough, but not really that great. But I think they'll be in some battles. So are they ready to go to the playoffs? Probably not, but I think they're ready to compete for a 500 record. And if they're
Hmm.
competing for a 500 record, you've got the Seahawks and the Rams, doing a little bit better. I think this division's tough. It's extremely feisty.
Mm.
So
So
yeah,
I
I like
remember
the Cardinals.
I just had to look up this Cardinals 2023, that Cowboys game in week 3. So they had been feisty for the first 2 weeks. And of course, I was on Dallas in one of my survivor leagues, and that one hurt. And Dallas just totally pooped their pants in that one. It was brutal. And then, of course, Arizona loses their next 6 in a row. I mean, you're right. They were a little feisty at times. But even with Kyler Murray, I didn't totally see it, man. I don't know. That win over the Eagles, I think it said more about the Eagles who were cratering. Um, yeah, that's interesting. So
So you're
ultimately,
not a Kyler guy, huh?
man, I was a Kyler. I don't know how much of this I should say. Let's just say I was connected with somebody who worked in the organization, and the all the work habits and the study habits you heard about Kyler Murray were apparently spot on. It just was not there. Not a leader, not a guy in the locker room who you can count on. And there was like beef with him and Buda Baker, and it wasn't going well. Now maybe Gannon has shifted things. This was all under Kingsbury, and maybe
Yeah.
Gannon has shifted things, and the Marvin Harrison will step up, and I know Connor had a good year last year, so maybe Murray has learned. But I think after that loss, where he was like Aaron Donald kept knocking him around, and he was act like, "Don't put me back in the game." That loss really sent me down on Kyler, and he needs to win it back. I don't know if he's going to be starting for the Cardinals next year. Do you? Like, are you that bullish on him?
Well, I think it said a lot that you didn't even really hear any rumblings about them going for a quarterback in one of the best quarterback draft
Good point.
classes we've had. So, um, you know, I I think they're going to give it a go, and I don't know. I think it speaks more to Kingsbury than it does to Kyler. But I mean, I could be wrong. I think the range of outcomes for Kyler is extremely high. He's extremely talented, and he has an extremely talented cast around him. So, look, this is the time. I mean, you either put up now, or yeah, it's you're just going to be one of those journeyman guys with all the talent but never got it done. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think this is a prove it year, but I don't know. I'm just going to bet on the talent with this guy with the weapons. He
Mm.
hasn't had weapons in the past, the last couple years. I mean, I know he had Fitz earlier, but um, he was good when he had Fitz, wasn't he? I mean,
Yeah,
first
no,
couple
no, he
years he was
was
pretty good.
strong with Fitz. I am curious. How did you end up last year in the circle? Or you don't have to say if you don't want to.
Oh no, I don't mind. I mean, we I think we cashed uh one or two of them. We do multiple entries,
Yes, yes, yes.
but I'll be honest, if I was solely trying to worry about what my record was, I would have a higher record. Whenever we start to get to where we have a chance to, even if it's a long shot chance to win a quarter, or
That's right.
get in position to make a deep run, all the money's up top. So I'm a big believer in doing contrarian plays when the time is right. So if you're something like, for those who don't play in the circuit contest, they give away, high six six figures for every
Quarterly.
4 weeks. So if you're something like, you know, 12-3 going into the last week, I mean, I'm a big proponent of trying to make sure that if you go 5-0, that other people aren't going up there with you, because that's really the only way you're going to cash with three losses, is if a couple of the big most popular plays get beat. And then when it gets more towards the end of the season, it's we do some Hail Mary stuff. There's a lot of those times where you'll have lines that are a couple points off for good reason. We just kind of take the other side of it. In the contest, it's not all about just making sure that you have the best record. It's about giving yourself the best chance to make money. So, but we did well. I mean, it had some cashes. I think cashed in the first quarter of Westgate for, I don't even know, 25,000, maybe something like that.
Westgate
So
circa,
yeah,
he's doing it all. David Baker, the guy's a legend. We first had him on when he won the contest. I forget when that was, and
yeah,
the
2020.
he's just totally dominant in gambling in NFL. So thanks a lot, Dave. Hey, enjoy the season. We'll definitely have you back, and be safe out there, buddy.
Hey, thanks. I just want to talk real quick. If you want to find my stuff throughout the year, I'm now working with survivorsweat.com.
Oh,
So Survivor Sweat is a group that gives you the opportunity to monetize your equity in Survivor contest. I don't know if in the Circa contest, so you have, as people get eliminated, your entry is worth a lot more. So you might get through, there's 10,000 people in the contest. Let's say you get down to the final 1,000. Well, now your entry is worth $10,000. Well, that might be a lot of money to you. You might want to just cash out at that point. You
huh.
can list your entry on the website, and people can buy it at equity, or a little bit below equity, or a little bit above equity, or you can sell 50% of your entry, or you can just sell pieces of it. So if you get knocked out of Survivor and you want to sweat, you can go on the Survivor Sweat marketplace, and you can you'll see a bunch of entries listed. You can see what teams they have left, and we handle all the making sure, the legal aspect, and making sure that you get paid or paid out and things
Mm.
like that. If your entry uh makes it, you can buy pieces of the equity. You can buy equity in somebody's entry, or you can buy the entire entry. So we get people together, like especially when it gets down to 150 and things like that, and
Yeah.
you might have six figures worth of equity in a Survivor contest. And so you can list your entries there, and I'm going to start putting my picks on the site. I'm going to have direct links that you can find in my Twitter profile. um, Also, there's a lot of tools on there. As far as for Survivor, it's free to sign up, doesn't cost you anything. You can, map out your best plan, your best path, and things like that. So I really love the guys that work with Survivor Sweat. They have a podcast as well. So if you get a chance, go over, check out Survivor Sweat. All you gotta do is just put in your email, and you
Yeah.
can have access to all the tools there.
That's great. I just looked it up. I've never heard of this site. I mean, do you have like an equity stake in there, or did they just get you in there?
Yeah, yeah. I have a small equity piece, and I, I know the people who run the site and who've put it all together. They've put hundreds of thousands of dollars to create the best place to um, aggregate all Survivor content. Um, you don't even have to you don't have to do anything, and you can just sign in, and you can map out your own path. If you want a proxy and you haven't signed up for the Circuit contest, they also run a proxy site.
No way.
Um, yeah, so they do
Dang.
proxy, and you can do the proxy directly through the site. So that's great. If you're out of state, then you can do the contest through the Survivor Sweat. And like I said, I'm going to have a direct link on the site in the upcoming days that's going to have articles. I'm going to give tips and where I'm leaning each week on picks and Survivor and all that stuff. So go over to survivorsweat.com. You can find it on Twitter at Survivor Sweat, and they have a podcast that's on all your podcast feeds. Survivor Sweat. I'll be on that a few times. The guys who do that podcast are Russell Rosenblum and Mike Buckmiller, and they won the Survivor contest a few years ago for like 3.8 million or something.
Oh,
So they
geez.
know what. So they know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
So,
clearly. That's nice.
yep,
Wow.
yep, and they're of the contrarian descent, so they probably won't have Cincinnati this week. They're
No.
probably, they're the type of people who play for the win. So if you want to get like ideas on how to go against the norm, the podcast will be great as far as
Yeah.
that goes. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm excited about the partnership. It's kind of, I've had some opportunities to do some things throughout the years, and I've always kind of turned them down because unless I really feel comfortable attaching my name to something, I really don't want to. I really like the guys at Survivor Sweat, and there's there's no fee or anything for using their stuff, and I think we have an opportunity to really change the way that you sweat Survivor, because if you have equity, you can cash out, and if you want to buy a piece because you love the sweat and you've got money. I mean, there are a lot of people out there with money that love to gamble, and a lot of people, let's just admit the fact that a lot of the people who go deep in these contests, they might have salaries that are, you know, 20, 30, 50, 70, 100,000 a year. There might not be, picking up an extra 20, 30, 40,000 from Survivor is a big deal to them. So
Heck
this is an
yeah.
opportunity for them to list their entries, and at least realize some of the equity, because it's really hard to realize your equity in Survivor. I
Yeah.
mean, even if you're down to 10, like that, you have $1 million in equity in Survivor and you're down to 10, you still only have a 10% chance to win. So that's a lot of equity, $1 million. So
Certainly. All right, David Baker, Survivor Sweat, Gambling NFL. Oh, it's so good to have the season back. Thanks again, David.
yeah, thanks, Jason. Good luck, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you throughout the season as we compare notes.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
Thank you.